Hey, Joe, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
God,
how are you guys?
I'm so nervous. I'm so bad at leading into stuff.
It's Joe Buck.
No,
It's Joe Buck.
No, he's.
Hey, guys, make sure you mention my Emmys so people know who I am.
I had that written down, Joe. I was trying to be professional. I suck at everything. Go ahead, Jimmy. Take it over. Take over the interview.
How you doing, Joe?
Joe, thanks for coming on.
I'm good. I'm good, and you're welcome. I'm happy to be on. Thank you, guys.
Before we have a lot of important issues to get, but when you agreed to come on, and thank you for doing this, I tweeted this out. I kind of felt like you were like, that'll be my charitable work for the day. There's an element of that, isn't there?
No. Why do you downplay your show? Why do you downgrade what you're doing? Jim, you're a man of the people. You're doing great things.
That's true. Well, because I'm on a show with Charlie, who's had a lot of shows that didn't last very long.
Oh, come on now.
You guys are going to have to work this out either on or off the air.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I'm happy to be on. I'm happy to be warm. I'm headed to Green Bay, where it's going to be 1.
Ooh.
And I'm trying to soak it all in before I try to fend off and fight off the freezing temperatures in the great white north.
So how about that game, Joe, with the Packers being 6-point favorites? I feel like all year long, maybe we've also underestimated the NFC West a little bit. A lot of talk always about the NFC East, but the 49ers kind of flying under the radar here, and they've outperformed expectations, I think.
I think they're good. I really think that Green Bay is going to have their hands full. Green Bay's a favorite for a reason, and I think the main reason is number 12 that plays quarterback for them. But beyond that, I think defensively they're going to have their hands full with what San Francisco does on offense and what they've figured out with Deebo Samuel running the ball. And I think Garoppolo, he had a good first half at least against Dallas. And if he can put 2 decent halves together, there's just no doubt in my mind that they can, not saying they will, but they can go up there and win that game.
When you look at the quarterbacks that are at the top of their games right now in the NFL, I mean, obviously Brady, you mentioned Rodgers, the veteran guys, but there are some young quarterbacks like Allen, Mahomes, who do things that I really can't remember other guys being able to do. This is a quarterback league right now, right? I mean, I just can't remember so many quarterbacks that are so entertaining to watch as the league boasts right now.
I mean, they're the biggest stars in the league. There's no doubt, and they all do it a little bit differently than one another. I think back, certainly when I was a kid, all the quarterbacks kind of seemed like they were cut out of the same mold, and that's not the case anymore. Lamar Jackson can beat you with his arm, but he's also one of the top running quarterbacks or running players in the NFL. Mahomes is a good mix of both. Josh Allen, I think, doesn't get credit, for his speed and his athleticism, but he also has a cannon for an arm. And Aaron Rodgers was the guy that was kind of the first of this, where he could get outside the pocket. He could, obviously kill you with his arm, but he could also take off and get a needed first down when that was necessary. And then Brady's kind of the throwback. I mean, we did him last week. We had his game, talked to him, and he talked about being slow and what that means and how he has to compensate for that as he's now 45 years old or 44 years old, whatever he is. He's so smart. He told us on our conference call, I know where I'm going with the ball before I ever touch it. And that's why he gets rid of the ball in under 2.5 seconds. And that's why the Bucs, even though they threw it, I think, over 700 times, led the league with the fewest number of sacks. And they're doing it with an older quarterback that can't move.
I think Brady is one of the most amazing stories in football in a long time, to be able to play at his age, at this level. Probably not physically the same guy that he was in his prime, but even smarter than he was. I just don't understand all the hate for Tom Brady. I get it. He has a perfect life, but I don't understand the hate for this guy to be this good and to prove it week in and week out at his age. I don't understand where all the hate comes from.
Well, I mean, I just think that's kind of the way the country is right now, and he's easy to pick at or say, oh, well, he's not that great. But I think the hate comes with an awful lot of respect, and I think if obviously the Patriots and their fans love the guy, and he would beat you, and so when you go that long beating that many teams. And you do it with, as you said, kind of the seemingly perfect life, and we're all smart enough to know that nobody has that. I think you get the online stuff, but I'm not so sure how real all that is. I think there's a lot of respect in there, and anybody who's saying mean things about the guy will be telling their grandkids they saw him play.
Joe, I don't want to get you in trouble, obviously, but I did enjoy the exchange where Troy made the comment about you guys maybe could have been on the 49ers-Cowboys game, and you chuckled.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. Can you at least tell us how the broadcast crews are chosen for these playoff games?
Well, I think that's where all that started, and I said to somebody the other day, I've worked with Troy for 20 years, and I've never been on camera and been surprised by something he said until he said that. That was a genuine, wow laugh. But at the same time, I love when Troy shows personality, and I love when Troy has fun with it. And I think it was more based in fun. I know if you're Troy Aikman and you spent that much time playing the 49ers in big games, especially in the postseason, there's a desire to want to cover that. But I think the league, on the other hand, the other side of it is the league puts these games in the best slot they can, and CBS had that slot locked down. So no matter how the playoff teams were situated this year with the seedings, CBS was getting the late game on Wild Card Weekend Sunday. That's a prime spot, and it made all the sense in the world for the Cowboys to get that spot with the 49ers. And so it just kind of is what it is, and you can be frustrated by it. But at the same time, you go and you cover a game that Brady's playing in, and you're doing it in Tampa, Florida, fine with both of us, not just me. That's fine with both of us.
Pretty good. We have a board op by the name of Seth, who's a wonderful gentleman who's a big fan of yours, and he wanted to ask a question, but since you might not know who he is, I kind of wanted to pass the ball to Seth so you know who's asking the question, Joe. But go ahead, Seth. Go ahead.
Okay, good.
Joe,
Put your mic
Turn
on.
the mic up.
Turn your mic on.
Turn the mic
Turn
up.
the mic on.
I'm here. Joe, is it true that you urinated in a water bottle while calling a game-winning
That's very
touchdown?
true. It wasn't a winning touchdown,
Okay,
but it was a touchdown. And it's funny, that little anecdote is in my book. I told it on the late show or the Late Show with what's his name, and it got no pub. And then I say it on Stephen Colbert. Thanks. And then I say it, I don't know, on some radio show or somebody's podcast, and then it gets picked up. And it's so funny how these things, they're out there. You say it in the right setting, and then it goes like wildfire everywhere. But yes, it is very true. I don't lie. And, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Joe, it seems to me that at some point with Major League Baseball, sanity will prevail. I mean, there's so much at stake now with the baseball season, pandemic, fans, snapping back into place at least for baseball ratings at some point last year, and now we have the lockout. How do you see this thing going, and do you sense that the season really could be in jeopardy at some point?
I mean, at some point there's going to be a piece of it that could be in jeopardy. But I'm like you. And maybe that's why there doesn't seem to be this panic in the streets about it. But I don't sense that there is. There's just, as you said, there's too much at stake. There's too much coming out of a pandemic. Too much need to continue to have the sports fans' attention. And I think if you sit out for even a long period of time, if not I don't think it's possible that they don't play baseball, but the longer you sit out, the longer you go with this stuff, the more you play with upsetting the average fan or the casual fan. I think the diehards are always going to be there and the core fan base, but you're always looking for bringing the most people under the tent that you can, and the more this stuff goes on, the more you alienate those fans, and I think that's the real worry for both sides. It should be.
Joe, your podcast, Daddy Issues with Joe Buck and Oliver Hudson. I'm reading the description here. Working fathers and longtime friends take an honest, unfiltered look at what it's like to be a father, a son, and a brother navigating the world today. What parenting advice could you give somebody like me? I got 2 young kids. It's actually my 4-year-old daughter's birthday today. I have a 7-month-old son. So are you guys talking about normal, everyday things in your podcast here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I walk the line of getting fired every time this thing drops on a Thursday. But there is a lot of real talk about, what it's like to be a husband. For me at 52, for Oliver in his mid-40s, I've got girls that are 25 and 22, been through a divorce. Oliver has not been through a divorce and has kids right in the middle, and because I have kids on the back end now in a second marriage that are 3.5 twin boys, and there's plenty of topics to go to. But I think one thing we always hit on is kind of the guilt, that you get, or at least that I've always carried around with me, traveling, doing my job, missing things at home, what that does to really the adult in that equation as much as it does to the kids. I think kids are, they're not aware, especially little kids, of the guilt you carry around when you're not there. And I think trying to talk that out. Oliver is a guy who's an actor and he's on a show now on Fox called The Cleaning Lady, but he's not taking jobs that take him out of the country because he wants to be around his kids. And it's probably cost him some opportunities of being a more of a household name. And he's Kate Hudson's brother, and he's Goldie Hawn's son, and he's Kurt Russell's stepson. I mean, he's the guy that in his mind he feels like the black sheep of the family. They all love him and think he's the most creative, funny guy in the household. But that's we all just kind of have that voice of doubt in our heads, and sometimes that voice gets loud, and this is kind of a way to quiet it down a little bit.
Hey, Joe, last one from me. Jim in Crestwood got on a text line and chimed in, too, and he said, speaking of cold games, your dad with Frank Gifford were the announcers for the famous Ice Bowl game in '67, and I wanted to ask you, what's the most miserable game you've ever had to deal with, besides the one that you had to pee in a trash can, of course? Yeah,
that tops the misery list, but I think we did what they called the Ice Bowl 2, which was in 2007 season, so it would have been January of '08 that the temperature was right there at 1 or -1, and then the wind chill. And I've never been that cold in my life. I think people assume that we're in an enclosed booth at these games, and you have to open the whole thing up, or it sounds like you're in a telephone booth. So it was just miserable, and your fingers don't work to write with your pen. The ink doesn't come out of the end of the thing. Your mouth doesn't really work right because you're kind of frozen, and it's kind of fun on one hand to get through it, and on the other hand, it can be quite chilly. So it's going to be that way this Saturday night, but I'm mentally prepared for it.
Joe, I saw you on the ManningCast a while back. I think that's a very interesting broadcast. Obviously, logistically, you have three people. You have the 2 Mannings and a guest at a different location. I love the concept of it. What do you think about that? And do you think that's, I don't want to say the future, but we'll see more of that, you think?
I don't know. I mean, I know they're going to try it with A-Rod and Michael Kay. I just think the Mannings are unique. And, for a while they were looking for somebody to host it. And all along, I thought the 2 brothers should be doing it themselves, which they ended up doing. The problem with it, at least having been a guest on it, is the delay. Mm-hmm. And you've got Peyton. I assume he's in Denver. You've got Eli, who's in New Jersey, and then I was in Cabo when I was doing it, and we're doing it on FaceTime. And so it's hard to make you're always trying to pick your spot to jump in so that you have to read almost body language to see when somebody wants to talk, because it just doesn't match up. And it's hard to jump in with a line or a joke or whatever if it's going to get stepped on. So I think they would have to iron it out in my mind and get some of that out of there, the delay out of there for it to take the next step.
Joe, last thing before we let you go, I was thinking about you the other day because we were talking about Chris Pronger and, his number being raised to the rafters at Enterprise. And he's a guy like you'd see at a Walgreens, nice to fans. You're that way, too. Like, you're a local guy, you're around. I see, when I see you, people can come up to you. You're just a down-to-earth guy. St. Louis has, and I'm a New Yorker, by birth, but my son was born here, so I consider myself
East Coast Valley.
We know.
But St. Louis is unique that way in that all these people that could do anything they want, live anywhere, choose to stay around here and just be sort of regular citizens. What is it about St. Louis that makes it different where, the celebrities want to stay here and just be regular folks?
Well, I think in the case, everybody's got their own situation. I think in the case of Chris from Dryden, Ontario, a small town, like he said when he gave the speech, and I was there the other night, he was there for 15 years. He's been in St. Louis for 20. And, he married a St. Louis girl. And I just think there's an easy way of life here. And I think people are really nice, and nobody really cares. People... There are no walls up, between me and whoever comes into my path. And most of the time people are telling me stories about my dad, which I love to hear. But I don't know. It seems like it's a good thing because maybe the guys who play here who aren't nice and are jerks go to bigger cities and mix in. And here, I don't think you last very long if you don't act the right way. And if you do, people are here with open arms, and whether you're from Dryden, Ontario, or in the case of my wife from Denver, Colorado, it's just a nice, easy lifestyle that it's easy to get to the airport. It's easy to get downtown. It's easy to get out west. And it's just a great way of life that we have here. It's very underrated.
Well, we appreciate you spending a little time with us this morning. You've always been great to deal with, and thanks for the visit. We do appreciate it.
We'll be watching.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you'll be watching. I'll be doing and freezing. So and not peeing because there's a bathroom in the back of the booth.
That's good to know.
Nice.
The great Joe Buck. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, guys. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Did I say
there.
he was 8-time Emmy Award winner?
I don't know, but I mean,
I am
Joe
so
Buck.
bad
You don't even need to put
Hold
that
on.
on.
And
there.
I got rattled.
But hold on. He did win 8 Emmys, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had my notes down.
Look.
But you guys gave me
was
the
factual.
look, and he started laughing, and it screwed my whole rhythm up.
Like, honestly, Joe Buck is beyond, like, Emmy. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, it was
that's
dumb.
something you would say, like,
It was dumb.
Like, if I'm doing a hit with a radio station, in Cincinnati, they might say 2 times. Like,
Am I under
Joe Buck.
Seth now? Is Seth above me?
Listen. I love you.
Yes.
I love the fact that you run point because I don't like running point. Okay,
It ain't easy.
So I'm not chirping you. What I would say is because
awesome.
here's the deal: Joe Buck is the real deal, but he gets it. He likes to have fun. So another way you could have went, you could have done this long, drawn out, and listed off all of his accomplishments. 8-time Emmy Award winner, 5 Super Bowls, 20 whatever World
I
Series,
could
and
have
then
done it.
he'd almost say, "Okay, I get it." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he is self-deprecating. He doesn't take himself very seriously. I mean, I've worked with that guy, when I first started, and he could have been a jerk. He was as nice and approachable. I saw it, with my own eyes, so I know how he is. That is a decent guy, and I like to, kind of make fun of our show and everything. He wasn't even going to slap us around.
No.
I thought I was kind of inviting him to slap us around a little. He didn't.
I
He's
agree
too
with
nice.
him.
He's too nice.
He said everything that we said about the ManningCast, too. It's like that delay kills it. It just does.
Well, think about it. Now, I think the average viewer senses that, let alone if you're, I use this in air quotes, in the biz like we are, let alone in the biz like he is. I mean, he does this for a living where he has a couple seconds to say a play before the play is down there and then the referee's talking and a producer's in his ear. When I watch that, and I watched that broadcast, that's the thing. The delay. It's not, and it wasn't just because Joe Buck was in Cabo. Every week I watch that, and I love the concept. But you can tell they're on FaceTime or Skype or Zoom, whatever it is, and it is really tough to know when you're supposed to talk.
Dude, I had that the other day with a podcast I did, and there was a delay, and I couldn't even chime in, and the guy was talking over me, and you couldn't hear my story. Then you got to repeat the story, and it's not funny.
Could you imagine?
Like, what the hell am I doing?
Could you imagine if Jimmy the Cat Hayes was hosting the ManningCast? He already steps on everything.
Oh, dude.
He already interrupts everybody.
Oh,
and then you add a 2 or 3 second delay with multiple folks in different locations. How would you pull that off?
Are you hearing some things that maybe they are considering me?
I did hear that, actually. Would you leave us?
He would just talk the whole time.
No. Yes. No.
No, but I feel bad watching that.
It's annoying.
Because it can be cringeworthy.
That's what I'm
saying. It really can be. And
it's what I'm saying.
This is coming from somebody. We do cringeworthy radio.
Absolutely.
I have done cringeworthy radio.
We know cringeworthy.
When I see them all, you go. No, you go ahead. Sorry, you go. No, you go. Wait, hey Peyton. Oh wait, here's the play. Oh wait, you go. It's tough. It's tough. And I love those.
There's no solution unless they come up with technology where it's quicker. I mean, I've seen it at network level. I've seen it I've seen it like local stories. It's a hard thing to navigate. By the way, one thing I think is clear, though, if you do have like a big name guest like a Joe Buck and you want to ask a question, you got to have your mic on.
Listen. This guy, there was a lot going through his head.
He didn't have his mic on. His own mic.
Listen, he didn't want to have ambient noise and have it on the whole interview. Okay, I like the thought process. It happens.
This is the great
we both
Joe
screwed
Buck.
up, dude. We both screwed up.
The great Joe Buck. I didn't want to be coughing in the mic.
God.
I did screw up. I forgot to turn
didn't
on my
cough?
microphone.
No, we saw it.
And
we saw it.
No, we know.
He didn't trick us. We saw it.
Jimmy just said that. Yeah, we know. We saw it.
I just didn't know how it was going to be brought up.
He also said, now that was my question. He also said that was the first time in how many years with Troy? 20 plus? That was the first time he was ever, I don't know the exact wordage, but what did he say?
First time he's ever gotten something that he had no idea was coming, basically.
It was funny to watch that because you could tell Joe laughed in a very genuine way as he said. Because Troy Aikman is not very controversial.
No, he's pretty down the line.
But he basically said, why aren't we in Dallas for this game? But that's the thing, because obviously Fox has NFC games, but you have multiple NFC games going on that Sunday, and CBS had the window. Whereas this coming weekend, there's only one Fox game. So obviously the main crew is on it.
But when you think though, like Aikman wants this to be his game, so we're doing whatever he says. Wouldn't you think that would factor into it?
Well, no, because CBS wants the biggest game. They want the best game. Oh. You got the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. You got San Francisco, huge market.
I'll answer another question that Joe, what you asked Joe about players staying in St. Louis.
Yeah.
It's an easy answer. He answered it without answering it. He said Chris Pronger's from Dryden, Ontario. Have you seen Dryden, Ontario? That's why he lives here. Have you seen where Losey's from? That's why he lives here. It's just an easier way of life. There's more money to be made. People know you. You're cemented in this town. You can go back up to Canada and what? Work on the prairie?
I agree with you. But it's also baseball guys. It's also Cardinal guys.
Yeah, they're from Arkansas.